Just to be clear, I mean, I still work, although most of my income is paid by the investments I've done. So all my expenses are paid. So I do work on a regular basis, just to keep that clear. But thank you for the opportunity to give me the chance to speak here. It's really an honor. And hopefully I give value to the group as well. Just want to let you know, I didn't inherit money. I didn't come from a wealthy family. My father worked at the government. My mother was actually a stay-at-home mom. I'm not an economist. I'm not a financial guru or even a financial advisor. This is my own personal experience. Maybe you've been in this situation before. This is to just give you an idea of what happened several years back. I was at a store and I was buying an item. I wasn't even sure of the type of item I was buying or even the cost of it. But as usual, I just threw up my credit card and then she tells me it got declined. Who's ever experienced that experience? It happens occasionally. It's a bit embarrassing. So I was like, okay, no problem. I got this. I'll bring out my second credit card. Well, she didn't accept that one. The store did not accept that credit card. That's pretty embarrassing. So I went back home and I looked at my debt level. It was over the limit. I was really, at the time, I was living above I was actually living above my standard of living. I really couldn't afford that type of living, but at the time, I was just throwing it on credit card. I'm not going to ask who's in that situation, but, you know, if you look at the Canadian consumer debt, you've heard of the consumer debt. It's rising and it keeps on growing each and every year. Guess how much we have of debt as Canadians in total, which includes mortgages. Take a guess of the number. Trillions. It's 1.8 trillion. It's hard to fathom 1.8 trillion. Let's just make some sense out of this. Let's bring it down to home a bit. Let's look at the income to debt ratio. What does that mean? So basically, how much income, if we have $1 of income, how much debt do we have? Well, the number is 1.7. So we're really over. We're really living beyond our means as Canadians, which is pretty scary. I mean, debt is not all that bad. It does get a bad rap. Debt does allow us to provide education, get a new car, get us a house. But over time, debt can be a burden to our lifestyle, especially if it's misused. Now, the reason I'd like to discuss consumer debt levels, it's important to me because we have this idea that it's only for the poor people. But believe me, everyone, despite your income, you can live beyond your means, especially in this credit world that we live in. And often it's not something we speak about. And when we do speak about it, it's too late. People are bankrupt, which is not pleasant. They have to sell the house, they got to move on. It affects everybody. The second reason I'd like to discuss the consumer debt levels is that it's really the first step that's holding us back to a financial freedom, to the ability to manage our spending habits, which grant us the opportunity to obtain financial freedom. Now, as an entrepreneur, I like to provide people with smart, simple, practical solutions that you can implement tonight. With this, what I'm going to show you tonight, you can actually use it tomorrow morning to change a few things. So how do you get out of debt? The quickest, most effective way to get out of debt. I can tell you what the gurus tell you. Make a budget, track your expenses, tighten your belt, cut up your credit cards. It didn't work for me at all. I'll tell you what worked. Well, in the meantime, life happened to me. Car breaks down, need a new roof, I had to bail out a buddy from jail. You get the point. The budget's out of whack. So how do you get out of debt? I'll tell you what worked with me. You automate all your expenses. Every single time you get paid. If it may be up every week, maybe it's every 2 weeks. You automate your expenses so you automatically, the moment that paycheck gets in the bank, automatically it pays for expenses right away. So for expenses like mortgages, we already have it automated. How about the car payment, utilities, cell phone, even the planned vacation, even that for the next step. And you can even plan on the debt. You're basically putting a payment to the debt right away. You see, few people will have the willpower or even the determination once you have your pay, all expenses, and then pay down debt. It's too much for some people. But if it's automated from the start, you don't have to think about it. That's exactly what I like about this system. There's a no thinking process. I don't know about you, but I'm a C student. If it's systemized, it works. You get your expenses paid, and now you've created a system that you can get out of debt, and then later on, once you get out of debt, then it's a consistent system. You don't even realize that you're putting money aside, and then it becomes, you're investing into it. So all you need to do is decide at the beginning of the year, maybe January 1st. It could even be February 1st. It doesn't really matter. Speak with your spouse, sit down and write down how much debt you want to pay down this year. Could be $6,000, could be $10,000. Make a plan and systemize it with your pay that comes in on a regular basis. Even how much you need to pay for that vacation. Simple as that. Even how much you need to buy for the new car. It's all done automatically. So you can create a system that you can follow and it works for you. This is what works for me, and perhaps it can work for you as well. Keep in mind, the more aggressive you are with your debt, the quicker it'll be. And then you can get out of debt and then gain financial freedom of some sort. Now, the financial freedom is one of those words that it's used on a regular basis, but what does it mean? What does it mean to you? You need to define it, just like success. What's success? You need to define what success is. So financial freedom could mean choosing a career that you love to do despite the income. It could also mean, financial freedom could mean working 3 days a week rather than 5. Financial freedom could also mean taking a sabbatical year. Who'd like a sabbatical year? You know, it's like a semi-retirement. We've bought into this idea that retirement, this is the goal, and then we can do what we want. What about those mini retirements, maybe 6 months to a year? It's possible with the right system in place. It could also mean helping others. Say, for example, your father, your mother, your aunt, they're sick, they need your help. Wouldn't it be great to help them out? Take the time off, 6 months. My mother did this a while ago. She had a great time with her sister. It was a beautiful moment. Things are priceless like that. Or it could also mean, financial freedom could also mean retiring a decade earlier. When you're financially independent, you have options. That's what it comes down to. So my goal, my hope this year is that more people will cut down their spending habits, reduce the debt, and have the option for a fuller life. Because if there's one thing I wish to remember here, one thing that I want you to take away from this, it's not the idea of implementing the automatic payment to reduce debt. Even if you don't curb your spending, it doesn't matter. Even if more families in our community may go bankrupt, because it is aligned with the interest rate. Interest rates go up. If interest rates is 4%, that means 4% of the community, families, go bankrupt. What I wish for you to know is not even the idea that you also can gain financial freedom. Because if I did it, believe me, anyone can do it. I'm a C student. I barely graduated from high school. What I want people to remember here is that we all need a bit of debt to improve our lives. But the quicker we get out of debt, the quicker we can start to live debt-free. Because I'm sure we may know somebody, a friend, a family, they're miserable at work. They don't like to work for one reason or another. Imagine if they can actually have the option of doing something else, trying something else. Because debt really eliminates our options. If we had less debt, we'd have less burden on our lives. With less debt, less stress. Less stress, happier people. And I'm sure we can all agree to having happier people in our community. So if you'd like to keep the discussion going, I'd love to have a talk, explore some options, create systems to reach your goal. It could be reducing debt, saving for retirement, or even retiring earlier, or even having that financial freedom that you believe in your own terms, which works for you. And then we'll find out what's holding you back so you can get on the right path to your financial goals. Thank you.